Back in this country, we turn to a classroom program designed to help young people cope with PTSD, a condition caused not by the shock of war, but by the stresses they encounter in life outside their schools. Jeffrey Brown has the story.
We start with our mountain pose, okay? And as you breathe out, lean to the right and feel that stretch along your left side.
At CESAR CHAVEZ Academy in East Palo Alto, California, these 7th graders are part of an experiment to see if focused breathing can lead to focused learning.
And as you breathe out, come back to the middle.
Stanford University researchers John Redker and Michael Fu are using yoga and what's known as mindfulness practices to help students concentrate on classwork.
These practices are really designed to help us feel a little bit more awake, aware, and also relaxed.
We're going to get into our sort of relaxed state, and we're going to get into mindful practice. So first of all, for mountain pose, everybody go ahead and move your feet so that they're shoulder width apart. And let's take 3 breaths together. Let's inhale and exhale.
CESAR CHAVEZ is in a low-income, high-crime neighborhood, and many of these students face real-world stresses, anxieties, and fears which can impair their ability to learn. Principal Amika Guillaume.
We have, by the 2010 census, as many as 50% students who are homeless. There's some very concrete things like a telephone, a mattress, a refrigerator with food in it, an address that you are in charge of. When I say children are under stress and duress, it's the little things. Let's not mention the shootings. Let's not even go into the gang war in our neighborhood. Just the little simple things are very stressful.
I want you to notice inward what you're feeling, so an emotion. And then I want to have somebody volunteer what their emotion is.
Relaxed.
Relaxed. Good.
So what scales were they used?
Dr. Victor Carrion, a professor at Stanford University's School of Medicine and head of the Early Life Stress Research Program, oversees the project at CESAR CHAVEZ Academy.
We talk about adverse childhood experiences, we talk about trauma. Here we have the word suicide, drugs, sexual abuse, starving. This is what adverse childhood experiences are. This is the constant life of these children on a day-to-day basis. And not only they live it, but they have reminders on their own school.
We get all these emotions.
Carrion and his colleagues are trying to understand how children respond to daily stress, emotionally and even physiologically.
With functional imaging, we actually can see what the brain is doing.
He showed us brain images of children who suffer from chronic stress, revealing evidence of both cognitive impairment and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD.
This link between stress and behavior actually shows up in the brain.
It does.
And so when there is stress or trauma in somebody's life, it shows up there?
Well, yes. What we can see is there is a deficit in the area of the middle frontal cortex in kids that have PTSD.
And in the developing brain of a child, Carrion says, PTSD can discourage learning.
So the issue that we have with stress and chronic stress, and when it manifests as a PTSD syndrome or disorder, is that some of the areas that are affected are areas that we need for our learning. For example, brain centers that process memory, brain centers that process executive function are particularly vulnerable. So PTSD can have an effect in how children learn.
According to Carrion, up to 30% of children who live in low-income, high-crime neighborhoods will show symptoms of PTSD.
Do I think that the stress of our community can get to a child? 110%, absolutely. For every child who acts out at our school, I can look exactly to the point in their life where things are not working. Every single time there is a very concrete, very sad story about why this child is not getting what he or she needs.
Bring arms up, and then put your left leg right around your knee. So don't
By
put it
teaching
on your knee,
children
don't
to
put
pay
it
close
either below
attention
or
to their
above your knee.
breathing
Okay.
and movements,
Good.
Stanford medical
Now for
student
its
Michael
face, I think
Fu
we're too
hopes
crowded,
they will
so
be better
let's take this
prepared to
area.
concentrate.
The principles of mindfulness really try to make you focus on the present moment. So whether or not you came in this morning experiencing something stressful at home or something bad happened, for you to be able to come into the classroom and really embrace it and embrace the learning, I think it really allows students to reach their potential.
The Stanford team is also encouraging students to use these practices beyond the classroom.
This is then a tool that's available to us. So if we're working with some challenging emotions like anger or some fear or some sadness, these are things that we can do to help change how we're feeling, right? And we can feel a little bit better.
These students were just finishing a 10-week program when we visited. Teacher Markel Coates said that at first there was plenty of skepticism.
It took us out of our comfort zone to be like moving our bodies and breathing in and out in front of everyone without giggling and things like that. Once you just kind of just get in the zone on your own, you become comfortable and it becomes something natural as opposed to something that you're nervous about.
Brian Solorio says that he uses both mindfulness and yoga at home when his mother, who works her third job at night, refuses to let Brian play outside.
When I get home, I want to play, but she doesn't let me because it's too dark now, and I get so mad, and then I put my yoga mat that they give me, and I start using it. The difference is that I'm angry, and then as soon as I use it, I'm not angry no more. It calms me down.
Can children learn to live with trauma? Do they learn to cope?
They learn to cope if we teach them. If we don't do anything, their PTSD is not going to go away. So by adolescence, for example, individuals may develop self-injurious behaviors, or they may develop substance abuse as a way of self-medicating. So PTSD, if not addressed, if avoided, is just going to get worse.
Teacher Markel Coates says she's seen positive results.
I've seen tremendous growth in students from being in mindfulness, from kids that have attitudes or quick to get upset about something, breathing and taking it slower, and then saying, you know, I didn't like that, or please don't do that, as opposed to lashing out.
Safe havens.
For Principal Amika Guillaume, all of this is very personal. Her sister was murdered when, as a teenager, she got caught up in a fight. Guillaume today says keeping emotions in check can keep children safe.
If we can get kids to the point that they realize that, oh, I'm getting hot-headed, oh, my adrenaline is flowing, I am not thinking clearly, I need to stop, step back and reassess, then maybe we have a chance.
In the past week, how often did you play with your friends? Never? A little? Sometimes?
The Stanford team is now gathering data from the students about the effectiveness of the mindfulness program.
It's been a while.